Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tea and Chocolate. My name is Lauren Spaniolo. I'm welcoming today hypnotherapist Rosa Livingstone. This is going to be a conversation of inspiration, and I thank you so much for coming today, Rosa, or sitting with me this morning. It's Sunday morning.
The best we can do right now.
Yes.
And thank you for having me.
You're
welcome.
welcome.
I always enjoy having chats with you.
Thank you. So I know your story, but I would love to be reminded of your story because I think it's going to be very inspirational for the viewers in terms of how you started your path in hypnotherapy.
Oh my, okay. Hope you have a few hours, but I'll keep it short. Well, it came about, before hypnotherapy, which was something I had never imagined myself doing. I think it's the lovely saying that if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plan. So at the time, I had been in the hotel industry for many, many years on that sort of track to eventually one day manage my own hotel. And for the chain that I worked for, it was a possibility. And professionally, I was doing fine. Personally, however, I really needed this job, and I was in a relationship that was not very supportive, and I had two young boys to look after. And the youngest, Jordan, who was 4.5 at the time, was diagnosed suddenly with a astrocytoma, which is a brain tumor. And we didn't initially know when we took him to Children's whether or not he was going to make it through the night, because it was massive. And I can remember the fear and standing in the parking lot at 2 a.m. It was raining. This was November, and just going, I don't know if I had the strength or courage to do this. My life just bottomed out. I felt this tremendous amount of fear. And I knew in that moment, not just because of what was happening to Jordan, that this was the bottom of the barrel and something had to give. My thought process at the time, as Jordan did have his operation, and he did live through the night, which was good. My baby. I decided to really look at, could I stay in this relationship that I was in that was kind of toxic? The fear had held me back. I didn't have the courage to leave at the time because I had 2 children. I had a job, but it wasn't, this great paying job at the time for the kind of life that I would need to support myself and my kids. And I was at one of Jordan's medical appointments, and I picked up a Common Ground newspaper, and there was an ad for hypnotherapy, because at that time I'd been thinking to myself, in the career path that I'm in, working for the company that I do, there is no way I'm going to be able to take time off or make the hours that I work less so that I could take care of the plethora of medical appointments and the needs of my boy. So I started to look at branching out and maybe doing something that I could do from home. So I just followed the ping, Lauren. I just followed the ping. And this was in 2006. So I took my training, and as I was on a short-term disability with my son, so I was looking after him and going to school, but always with that why. I had a why, and I really want to make sure that people understand that you need to know what your why is, especially when the times are tough, right? Your why has to be something that's coming from that place of knowingness. And my why at that point was I needed my freedom. I wanted to give my children a peaceful home, and I wanted to be able to support my kids and be able to be there for both of them, and not just the younger one that did have a lot of medical needs. And when it was tough, that's where I went to, was my why. I had to stay on track. So 2006, I started my practice, but very part-time. 2007, Jordan finally went into grade 1, and I started to work a few more hours while he was at school. But at that point, I grabbed my big girl panties and decided I couldn't stay in this relationship. I was trying to see, when is the right time? You know what? The right time is when you just grab your balls and do it. I don't have balls, but okay, whatever. So, so I grabbed my non-existent balls and I
Yes.
said, this is it. And it was 2008. Now, 2008 was the time when, everything crashed. It was not a good time for many people financially. I had barely a part-time business. And I remember thinking to myself, no matter what, even if I have to eat cat food, I can do this. No matter what is thrown in my way, I can do this. I'm just going to have faith. And everyone around me was going, go back to the hotel business, go get your job back. They want you back. At least you'll have your salary and you'll have your benefits and blah, 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 blah. And something inside me that just wouldn't shut up kept saying, no, stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. And I remember looking for a place and for my sons and I, I'm going, how am I going to pay for this rent? Because there's no umbrella. There's just no net. At least I didn't think there was. And I just barreled through going, I have faith, I can do this, I can do this. I would have left a long time before that if it had just been me. But I think when, you look at being a single mom, and kids nowadays, they need, it's not just what they need, it's what they want. And I wanted to be able to provide what they wanted. So it was a really challenging time, but I did find a place. And I remember going, adding up bills and what I needed to make, because I knew this is what I needed in order to not just survive, but have, a little bit extra. And I worked like a crazy person. And I don't know logically how it was that all of a sudden clients were appearing out of nowhere. And I wasn't doing much different. I was doing some marketing, but not a lot because I didn't have a big budget. But I really honestly believe that the universe was going, this is your vibration. You were so determined. You've got the courage. I'm going to help you. And I'd sit there at night going, you know what? Fear can eat me up and I will be up all night. Or I can go to sleep in the faith that this will happen, because I'm not going to deviate from what I know is important to create the space of peace and be able to support my kids and doing something that I was quickly finding that I absolutely loved. This was my passion. So when I look at Jordan, when I do speaking engagements and I'm talking about my dip, and my dip was that moment, which we all had many of them, but for me, it was the moment of shifting from fear to possibility and hope, was that parking lot scene where I just thought, there has to be another way. I can't do this way. I can go into robot mode, but it's killing me inside. And so there are those moments, and we all have everything that we need inside of us in order to follow whatever it is inside of us that we want, whether it's, changing our career or changing a relationship or changing something within ourselves that we don't like about ourselves. It does take courage, but you have to start with your why. Start with your why. There's a book called Simon Sinek, and it Start With Why. But he talks about it from a business sense. And I read the book and I took it more from a behavioral, emotional sense. And it made sense to me that, we can easily say, I want to do this, and this is my fluffy why. I want more money in the bank, or I just want my freedom from a relationship, or whatever it is that's defining that moment. But you have to go deeper than that. You really have to look at what is going to sustain you in the hard times. And so through this, it was a gift. Jordan's tumor was a gift. And you've heard me say to love is to look for the good. And even though this was a horrific period, my baby couldn't walk. He lost half his vision. It was a long way back. But I look at it and go, what that situation gave me as a gift was my finding my courage, my finding my backbone, and saying that, it couldn't be any worse than this. But I just know that this is the right time. So the right time is when you decide it's the right time. It can be in the middle of a depression. It could be in the middle of the coronavirus. It could be in the middle of anything that is challenging. You don't have to wait for that beautiful blue sky and that right time. It's when you decide, I've had enough and I'm going to find another way.
You've said so many things in this.
And I'm parched.
No, that I, I took all these notes, but that's prompted so many questions. One of the things that I'd like to acknowledge is that you said that you didn't have the courage, and I'm wondering if you're just you were at the time, you were being responsible.
Yes, I think yes, that is part of it. I was being responsible, but I could have been responsible and stay in a relationship that was eating me up, that was making me feel, or I was allowing myself to feel less than.
Yeah.
That I had to just sit in what was familiar. Security is what's familiar. It doesn't mean it's necessarily good for you, but I knew that it was familiar, and I could just keep plodding along like that oxen plowing the field. Just put your head down and do it. So yes, I was being responsible, but at the same time, it was I know that I need more. I need more. So I need the courage to go for that more, to step out of this box that has become my prison and look at things from a different perspective, that there's a classroom out there for me, and I'm not going to move up in my grades of learning who I am and gaining my self-worth back and my confidence if I didn't have the courage to step out of my prison and into a classroom that we know there's always lessons to be learned. And I mean, it wasn't an easy road. However, I can look at it and go, I was responsible in my choice of looking after my son's needs, both of them. I brought them into this world. I'm their mother, but I was also being responsible to myself. What did Rosa need? Rosa needed some peace.
Right. There's
in the chaos.
In the case, yes. There's something to be said about those transition periods, those little gaps. And so, so while you were, I think you've already kind of touched on it, but while you were saying that, I didn't have the courage to leave at this moment yet, and yet you had it in you. There was something really burning in you, and the way you expressed yourself today beautifully, it's like the why, getting to the why. I mean, the focus and the determination. And so just getting back to what was it like to feel and like to stay focused and on track when you knew that, okay, look, buddy, I mean, I'm going to be leaving soon. And yet you wanted to, you're following your authenticity.
Oh, that's, my mind was veering onto another track, and just repeat that one more time. Sorry, Lauren.
That's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I basically, you kind of already answered it, but I'm really curious about that time and transition. It's like you make a decision, but you're not quite ready to jump yet. You're not quite ready to move. So I'm wondering how you felt.
Yeah.
Let me reword it that way. How you felt just in that time. Like how do you stay with that uncomfort, knowing that you've got your end goal?
Thank you for that, for clarifying,
yeah,
because my mind had
wandered. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I look at it in the same way I look at it with clients when I'm coaching. You have a goal, okay? You've set that goal, and I time-stamped it. I mean, it wasn't like concrete, but I had said to myself, at the end of this 2-year period, because I had already known that this was going to happen. Jordan's situation with his tumor diagnosis kind of accelerated that, but I knew that it had to happen. And then I was always taking just small little steps to be prepared, things that would keep me on track. But by the same token, there was still a lot of fear about how this is going to affect my kids. I mean, there's so much emotional content that you have to weigh. Was it all about my needs, or was I really truly looking at the needs of my children by taking one of them away from his father? And it was a time where you have to continue to reevaluate and restructure your why, because maybe you missed something. And I would constantly question, am I being authentic to them? Am I being authentic to me? And the more I pared it down and got really to the guts of it, it was like to be their mother and to be the person that I know I can be, I have to work on myself. I have to follow what I feel is right for me, which will be right for them. It's kind of like the analogy of being on a plane and the air pressure drops and out come the masks. I mean, who are you going to put it on first? You. Because they relied on me, and I knew without a doubt, and you've really got to gut it, I knew without a doubt that my decisions, because there were many, were definitely taking into consideration what I believed was the best situation for them. They needed a stable home, and they needed a home that had more calmness and where they could feel that mom was herself, that was someone that had their backs.
Mm-hmm.
If
So
that helps.
yes, yes. So like it's 2008, and you know the
Mm-hmm.
people around you are telling you to do X, Y, Z. You're doing the. What does that tell you about our collective as people?
We're fearful. We're fearful of change.
You're right.
And change is the constant. That's the one thing we can rely on in this world, in our lives, in our existence, is things will change. And yet we are so afraid of change. We resist change because change is scary. It's outside of our comfort zone. It's, something that we feel that we don't have what it takes to face change. It's going to destroy us. We're going to go into an abyss. Change is constant. And I think that was, and it was in a positive way that I was having, people close to me going, Rosa, what are you thinking? Just stay till, you are in a position at work where, you're the general manager, or stay till the kids are older and then you can leave, or, this is just the wrong time. You're not going to get any clients. No one has extra money, blah, 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 blah. And I understood that it was coming from their concern. And maybe some of them thought I was absolutely on crack, but I knew within me that my why was bigger than what anyone could say. I took, and that's the first time in my life, because, growing up as a European, and that we don't really get much of a chance to have our own opinions, or we can have our own thoughts, but no one really listens. You're supposed to do what they want you to do. And that was a big one for me to crack, because I knew doing what I was going to do was also going to disappoint some people that were very important to me, my parents. And I just followed my why, no matter how. And it's not naysayers. I understood. And that's why I'm so grateful that, working in to become a hypnotherapist, all it really is really making you an expert on emotions and behavior. And I really had to examine my behavior over the years, and how I handled stress, how I handled challenges, how I handled change. And so I understood that their fear was not mine unless I made it mine, because I could have still been stuck there for a heck of a lot more years.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what you've told me today is that what you're saying is that we should all be encouraged to follow our dreams.
Yes.
How do we stay on track and stay focused on our dreams in this climate of COVID? Because it feels like we're just being overshadowed by it all. And I'm wondering if you can speak on that.
There is a plethora of courses and thought systems and everything you can imagine on social media right now. And to be very honest, for some people, it's just like, I'm overwhelmed. I've lost my job. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills.
Oh, yes.
The assistance that I'm getting at this time is barely enough. Am I going to lose the roof over my head? So I know that people in that situation don't see anything but the fear. And it doesn't mean they can't overcome that fear. It's actually a post I did on Instagram today. It's a great time to become more introspective. We're all collectively stuck in our homes, and it's the time to think outside the box. For instance, my leaving my secure job at the time and starting my own in an industry where most people just thought that, hypnotherapy was woo-woo or the devil's work. It's kind of similar to the time that we're experiencing now. And I do believe it's a time to examine your self-sabotaging thoughts and your feelings, because there is not one of us that, first of all, doesn't self-sabotage, but second, isn't feeling to some degree the anxiety, the fear, the confusion, the not knowing what this is going to look like, even moving forward. So small steps is catch your thoughts, catch your behaviors. Know that, if you're at home with other people, that there has to be a lot of patience and compassion, and there's give and take. It's hard for people that are living alone because they don't have that physical, that hug, that connection. They're kind of stuck by themselves. So just to bring it back to your question, is I think that this is a perfect time to go deeper. You don't have to do all this meditation and do all this stuff, but you know what? Even just sitting down and writing. You don't have to be a journaler, but write, what's really beneath all of this? Okay, I'm feeling X, but is it about now, or is this an old way that I react? Where is this fear really coming from? And am I really that helpless and hopeless? We have to question. It's a time to question. Question what's important. Question what is no longer important. Question your morals, your values, your beliefs. It's a question time.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, before we say farewell today, I'd like to just leave it to you to, you've summarized it already beautifully, but just in terms of we're talking about courage today versus fear, and how we make our choices, and really understanding who perhaps is making the choice for us, where does that motivation come from? The why, might not come from us, all that stuff. And if you could just leave us with some lasting, until the next time we meet. Yeah. Until just some lasting words of encouragement right now for people.
Wow, that's a big one. I would like to say that right now, my hope for everyone is that they use this time not to understand their exterior world as much as we all have. It's about what's going on out there. The next travel, the next job, the next this, everything that's outside of us. And now my hope and my wish is for people to go inside and to look at what's going on internally. It doesn't matter what your beliefs are, whether you're religious or spiritual or atheist, it doesn't matter. It's just look at how can you handle this better from the internal process, because we do not right now have any control over our external processes or what's going on outside of ourselves. I think this is the first time, for our generation, certainly, and our kids, that we have actually had our freedoms taken away. And not so much in where we live in our first world country, but there are many in Europe where, my family in Portugal, you can't drive anywhere unless you can prove that you're on the road for a reason, and then you're fine, whatever. As you know, I'm starting a forgiveness course starting on tomorrow, actually. And the idea, again, was what can we do in this time where everything is kind of stood still, we might still be working from home, but we have all of this extra time on our hands, is examine how you can be better, how you can dig out this stuff that is not yours, but you've taken it in from the time you were a little one, that is actually driving your patterns of thoughts and feelings and behaviors, so that you can have some peace. Because remember, fear is basically false evidence appearing real. So we react as if it's already happening. We don't know what it's going to look like. We can all conjecture, but we can, in the moment, work on ourselves and find our own peace. Namaste.
Namaste. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Lauren. You know,
Oh.
I love sharing space with you, even if it's this way.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. So thank you, Rosa, for coming today. I really appreciate it. Very well articulated.
Thank
And everyone who is here watching Rosa, you can, well, all the details are going to be in the post, how you can reach Rosa.
Yay.
Yeah, Rosa Livingstone.
There you go.
Yeah, have a
Yeah,
wonderful, pardon me?
I was going to say, and thank you to your listeners for taking this time to hear me warble on and on.
You bet.
All right.
All right.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Take care of yourselves.